Hello, and welcome back to Password. I'm excited to be back, as always. I love these characters, love this cast. Where are we? It's here. Yeah. What was the last save I did? Was it this one? Okay. Don't worry about that. We're gonna go here, and I assume when we click, it will go to the next day. Yeah, we're of course doing Tyson's route first. I should set down this apple. I should not eat an apple while recording. I don't know why I did that. I don't know why I started eating this apple. It is what it is, though. There had only been a few times where I felt like I'd been falling in my dreams. I was conscious of it happening, but instead of waking up, I just seemed to slow down until I was on my feet. This time, anyway. It was similar to sinking, maybe, but I still found myself in an endless darkness, or rather than any other place I could recognize. A dull throb in the back of my head made me wonder what was happening, but I didn't have to wait long. Dave? There was that all too familiar voice, and I knew I must have been dreaming. Still, the thought for once brought a smile to my face, and knowing that the danger had just passed and I had a chance to breathe. 5 more minutes. Dream Dad. Okay, Dave. There was a truck. Am I gonna? Okay. I thought I was bumping into the microphone wire. Whoops. There was that chuckle, and I could picture him shaking his head. Dream Dad, huh? I'm flattered you can't spend all day in bed. I'm flattered, but you can't spend all day. Okay. But sleep. I felt the covers being thrown back, and instinctively I curl up tighter with the sudden onset of feeling less toasty. He's so cute, guys. He's so cute. Opening my eyes slowly, I looked around my room. Sure enough, their dad was. Come on, it's time to get up. As I went to sit up, I was hit with a headache of nausea. What's wrong, sport? Feeling under the weather? No, maybe I did go a little crazy last night. I can probably stand to boost the audio a bit. Actually, did I lower the audio on accident before? Yeah, let's do that. I was about to say, this looks like it's not quite. There we go. We got there, guys. We got there. There was a moment where I wasn't sure what I'd just said. Maybe I'd just said something back to try and get a rise out of Dad, even if he was just a dream. I let you sleep in a little longer than Tyson before you're... I'd let you sleep in a little longer than Tyson because you're my favorite son. But you need some grub in you. Dad, I'm your only son. I could tell something was wrong as I started speaking before I'd consciously thought back to my response. I tried to follow it up with something, but instead felt myself stretch out my finger and sit up to watch Dad linger by the doorway. Do you think things are going to be alright? Hard to say, champ. Just don't go thinking too hard about it, right? Apparently, it was time to get up and get dressed. I felt like a passenger in my own body as I moved about the room, trying to figure out why this lucid dream seemed to be playing out on its own. Even trying to speak to myself or think out loud wasn't working, but I could see just fine, though what I was looking at was restricted to this dream Dave I found myself in. I could smell breakfast when I hit the bottom of the stairs, and my eyes lingered briefly on the sofa where a couple of pillows and a blanket still laid messily out on it. Tyson, did you sleep on the sofa?
Yeah, why?
Why?
Why what?
Why'd you sleep on the sofa? I wander into the kitchen to see Ty sitting at the table in the middle of eating breakfast, and Dad was sitting down himself as wandered over to the coffee pot.
Where else would I sleep?
In bed with me? In my bed? Yeah?
When you don't go passing out from drinking too much, maybe that'll be an option.
I groaned, rubbing my head. Was this what a hangover felt like? I'd wondered why my mouth was dry, but still, Dad and Ty seemed to be laughing things off, although I could see the telltale cracks in their expressions that hinted they were worried. Was it that bad?
You don't remember how we had to rush you to the hospital? Didn't want to risk anything, so we took you to get your stomach pumped, Dave.
It was really that bad? Did Mom say anything? They looked at one another before looking back at me.
Your mom said that he was overreacting.
But I passed out.
Well, we weren't sure if you'd taken some aspirin or something, and you know, the whole mixing alcohol with medicine thing. That you shouldn't do it. Obviously, Tyson.
But I'm fine. I'll be honest, I don't really remember much of last night, but I do feel kinda gross.
Get some food into you, and get some water. If you're still feeling under the weather later, we can look into something else to pick you up. You at least remember why you were drinking, right?
No. Tyson motioned to me, and I looked over at him funny. He rolled his eyes and pointed to my hand, to which a ring sat comfortably on a finger on my right hand. Oh, right, of course.
Remember now, sport?
Yeah, I'm getting married.
Eventually. It was just the fucking engagement party. Language at the table, Tyson. Oh shit, sorry.
Dad shook his head, flashing me a smile.
If anything, we should be sorry for Dave for letting him get carried away. Last thing we want is a vengeful fiance knocking on our door. Speaking of, I'll probably be seeing him later, so what do I tell him?
The truth?
He's gonna be distracted all afternoon if I do, though. Unless Dave tells him now. There's no way around it. Which would you rather?
We can we back up a minute? I mean, I get the celebrating, but shouldn't Sal have been here if we were celebrating that?
He entrusted you to us, or mostly Tyson anyway. Had to go help out his best friend with something. Yeah, Dean got himself stuck again. Plus, apparently you two already celebrated a few nights back. No idea how the fuck you managed to keep that a secret from us for a couple days. Tyson! Oh, sorry.
Tyson stood up, pushing his chair in and clearing his throat.
You really went fucking overboard, didn't you? I guess you're not at the table now.
A tie ruffles the fur atop my head, and I grumble. Still feeling sick, but I wasn't feeling sick as I probably should have been. I just knew that I was. Hey, Dad.
Yes, Dave?
Then they were gone, and I was falling again. I must have been sleeping. Dad was gone. But more importantly, I was still at the mansion, wasn't I? As I opened my eyes, my head hurt something fierce, but like last time, I didn't seem to be in control of my own body. What happened?
Now I'll take credit for that one.
You made me pass out again? Why? I sounded angry, although from what I could see around me in the brief time the Dave I was living in, nothing seemed wrong. Okay. For fun. Yo, what a Chad! What kind of person even does that? Me! Well, I'm hardly a person, am I? On a more serious note, 2 questions for you. What now? First, have you decided on what you're going to do about Jack? Not really. There isn't many options for us to take, for us in there. True, but it's worth asking. What about the second thing? It's about what you saw in the little dream I gave you. You mean memory? Semantics. There isn't much to say. Just more of the same sort of stuff, really. Thanatos doesn't seem all that thrilled about it and shook his head. In details, Dave. Oh, well, it's odd, right? It's basically what happened yesterday, except... There was no reply, and as much as I wanted to step in and ask questions myself, I wasn't the one in control. Is that why you asked Oswin that favor? To stop Benson from firing his gun? Maybe, but that's interesting. Interesting how? Not many variations between where we are now and what you saw. For example, I watched as Thanatos looked me directly in the eye. Something in how he did made my skin crawl, as if he could sense that I was there watching, though through this other Dave's eyes. Imagine that this was the dream. Imagine that you're watching these events as a memory instead. That's okay. So what? Imagine what you could do that with that information if you could look back on the previous loop and change how things go. Nothing that bad happened, though. And if it did? If you'd seen the trap I set for Tyson before you needed to use the vaults. As in, use the vault without a password? In a manner of speaking, sure. I had to knock you out of this. I had to knock you out this time, but... He shrugged again. How about a test? What sort of test? I'll ask you a question, and you give me the answer. And if I get it right? Then we'll know you've thought this all before, and I'll treat you to something nice. If he winked, I would have known he was talking to me. If he'd given any indication he knew I was there, I'd missed it though. Maybe this was just how he was, but I felt the me I was piloting nod slowly. Okay, what's the question? Question is this. Where is the Leo medal? The what? We hadn't found the Leo medal yet. It seemed as though the other Dave had no clue where it was either. No, don't know. But we haven't found that one yet. How else would I know? Because I'm about to tell you, in order to give you a freebie. I don't know if I trust a freebie from you. He's literally the most trustworthy person in this game. Come on, Dave. Take it or leave it. If you get it right, then you'll get your treat. If not, at least you'll know where the medal is. Alright, where is it? Listen closely, Dave. A Leo is hidden in the place Oswin does his best work. His voice was fading fast. He'd given the answer before the memory this was had finished fading. But what was I meant to do with this information? There was a medal where Oswin does his best work. Well then, there were only a few places that could be. Did we find the Leo medal in one of the other routes? Or am I thinking about this too hard? I think I'm thinking about this too hard. I slowly opened my eyes, my head throbbing gently with a vague feeling of pain. Or maybe not pain, but as if the inside of my skull had been itching and I'd just given it a good scratch. For the most part, my throat felt dry and I needed water. Then coffee. Then breakfast. Just thinking about food made my stomach growl. Something that I wasn't expecting, but it was nice having an appetite again. I had my arm around Tyson, who was still asleep, but unlike how we fell asleep, I found myself to be the big spoon in how we were cuddling. Oh, fucking lit. Not that I minded, but I was a little worried about moving so quickly lest I wake him.
It's alright, I'm awake.
I wasn't sure that I'd heard him at first, but when he yawned and shifted, I lifted my arms so that he could move.
Couldn't sleep.
More like I slept enough. I'm mostly just hungry now, I think.
Sure.
What about you?
If I'm being honest, I'm still bushed. Plus, after last night, I don't know. I kinda just want to hang out for a bit.
You're skipping breakfast?
No, just trying to lay low after that.
Did you want me to bring you anything? Coffee? Breakfast?
Nah, it's fine. I'm just gonna nap a little more, and then I'll get up.
I leaned forward and kissed him on the side of his muzzle, while he was still processing what I'd done. I sat up to stretch. If you're going to hang out here, I'm gonna go get food and then look into something. Join me later?
You're not going to go finding trouble, are you?
No.
Good.
Once I was dressed, I headed downstairs. The house was quiet, although that was likely due to me being one of the first people up, if not the first. When I got to the kitchen, it was cold and untouched, which just meant I had the pleasure of turning on the coffee machine and getting breakfast started. Looking at the pantry and the fridge, though, I started to wonder just how long what food we had was going to last. Those of us in the mansion, 3 meals a day at best, for another week at least. Well, just don't have 3 meals a day, goddammit. Eat 1 meal a day, and there you go. I make it last. I frowned, thinking about how we'd start to ration things. The freezer still had a good stockpile, but I was going to miss having milk in my coffee if they don't have the powdered stuff. But even that wasn't the same. Pacing the kitchen in mind, went back in my dream, and trying to piece it together. Where he does his best work? Part of me was expecting Thanatos to show up, and I scanned the kitchen for him, but nothing. Breakfast is ready. I burst into the dining room, and just as everyone seemed to be settling into their seats. That said, what I made for breakfast paled in comparison to the last big breakfast I'd made. What's for breakfast?
Looks like toast. Did you struggle? If you needed help, you could have just said so. I'd have been happy to help.
No, I'm just being, mindful about how much food we have left. The comment made everyone look at the toast and then back to me quickly. I felt a little nervous about how people were going to react, but no one said anything about it.
Well, what's everyone's plan for today?
No plans on my end.
All things considered, no plans are good plans, right?
What makes you say that?
Well, after yesterday, I imagine people won't necessarily want to do anything, right?
I looked from Roswell to Tyson, who seemed to be sharing a look with one another. Was he giving him an out after what happened at dinner? Either way, Ty kept quiet and his head down soon after.
Well, we can't just do nothing.
Any ideas then?
If we're running low on food, I can't say we can readily make something in the kitchen as a group. That's something I could probably check too. And then we can have a plan to probably ration things out if needed.
I don't think things are as dire just yet, but it's worth checking.
Ooh, the good boys.
Foraging is something out. Is likely out, given how dangerous the woods are now. Speaking of danger, do we know what we're doing now? What we're going to be doing about that?
Thanatos said that we have a couple days of breathing room. I nodded slowly, thinking back to the past few days. A break was nice, and even if he was lying, there was a chance that what he said was the truth.
He did? That's a relief. Although I don't think it's wise to go letting our guard completely down. Just in case.
I agree, but what do we do?
Shy of keeping watch and arming ourselves just in case, there isn't much alternative, is there?
It's not as if we can't go get guns either.
Why not?
Benson has them locked away in his room, behind another locked door. Apparently the keys are safe.
Did he say where the keys were just in case?
Just that they were safe.
Well, that's not an answer.
You think he's lost them? Or maybe he doesn't want anyone to know where they are, just in case. They want to do something bad with them.
That's a little dangerous, isn't it? In case we need them?
It's more dangerous to arm someone that doesn't know how to use a gun properly.
I looked across to Orlando with a frown. For a moment, Benson's face flashed in my mind after the investigation yesterday, but something about that event made me worry about Orlando. I just couldn't place why.
I guess that's true. What weapons does that leave us? Should we need them, though?
I might see if I can get that sword from the suit of armor upstairs. It's only, bolted in place, so a wrench or something should free it. A sword, really. Better than nothing. I'd agree. Otherwise, we only have things from the kitchen.
We also have the axe in the greenhouse. Although I figured I'll take that up.
I'd take that up, should we need it. Why do you get an axe? Who'll have the sword, then?
Given the size, I imagine Sal is the one that could handle it. That, or maybe the shovel.
What's anyone going to do with a shovel?
Says the person with the shovel in the in the main menu screen. Dig something up, maybe? Or bury something? Or makeshift crowbar? I think I'm gonna end the part here. I know it's an awkward place, but it is what it is. I'll see you around, everyone.